Listen.
And live.
And direct. Bitches and bitchettes. What's going on? Welcome back to another show of some shit you might not never know nothing about. That's right. My name is My Stiggy. I'm your host with my co-host right here, Dan DNA. What's going on, bruv?
Good.
You good?
Yeah. Bit of a different camera setup this week. I'm looking like the...
You got all bleached out. And
yeah.
Let's go for the bleached out look. Oh, yeah. I kind of look like I'm on some psychedelic trip. I'm a bit dazed out. And then you
look good. I just look pasty.
Gandalfed out. Yeah, Dandolf. Dandolf in the building, boy. Yeah, man. We are back, mother lovers. Of course, we got to do it, man. It's that Wednesday feeling. You know what I mean? We get you through that hump. We might have to bring in Unbelievable Wednesdays, you know? Like I used to do this thing years ago, Unbelievable Wednesdays, where, you know, I'd post like some amazing hairstyles. So even certain animals had amazing hairstyles as well. So we might have to bring that back because true, it's a Wednesday in that.
Yeah.
You know, it makes sense. Had a mad week. I went away, hit the coast, you know, I went down to Margate and Ramsgate sides. It's pretty nice, man. Very.
Is that Kent or?
Yeah.
It's
Kent. Yeah. So Canterbury.
Right.
Yeah. And you can, you know, you see that there's some history there, bruv. There's some real history there. Like I'd like to venture around and check out some of the sites, man. But it was nice hitting the coast.
The Garden County or whatever it's called, I think. Kent.
Is that what it's called? Well,
used
I
to grow
guess
all the hops there for all the beer. Used to grow all the strawberries there for all the tennis.
Yeah. And I guess because it's on the coast, there's quite a bit of traffic going on. Is it like, you know, whether it be Vikings or Normans? I think it would be the Normans down there, isn't it? That were
Saxons and Normans, yeah.
That would be attacking the Saxons, I thought.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Vikings and all that was probably more north.
Yeah. That makes sense. There'd be more north. So yeah, you can see there must have been some shit going down. You can see their little stash. What are they called? Stash, like little crevices in the cliffs where people were stashing their gold and their booty and all that. Yeah, all the pirates.
There,
yeah, man. Crazy time, boy. I wish I was there, mate. That was the real out there shit. People like, you know, from the 80s and that, like, man, think they were really doing shit in the streets. But, bruv, you weren't like voyaging.
You got to do shit in the seas.
Yeah. You didn't know on a boat. You don't even know if you're getting there yet. You got crows. You know, when they got to send the crows, like, bruv, let me know if there's any land. Just don't come back.
No suntan lotion.
Whoever comes back is like, nah, bruv, there ain't no land. Oh, shit, man. Hungry as fuck. You ain't had nothing to eat.
Yeah.
You probably ain't shitted because you're just like, yeah, if I shit, I'm going to be mad hungry. So I might as well just hold this shit for as long as I can.
Yeah.
Keep up my strength.
Got to learn how to navigate by the stars and...
Yeah. And hopefully, if you reach land, then you might get something. You might, you know what I mean? You don't even know if you're close to any, like people, living people. That you're just, right, I'm going to get there. Bruv, that's the real out there shit. Fuck that burglaries and car, bruv, you ain't doing that.
You got to be raping and pillaging, not just burgling the old house.
See, I'm not advocating the raping part.
Animals only.
You know what I mean? Unless there's any consent. If someone consents to being raped, that's a whole different story, innit? I can't be, that's not, you know what I mean? I'm not involved. You consented to that shit.
Yeah. That's what we need, a modern pirate, a polite pirate who just like gets consent for everything.
I guess that's what was kind of happening, isn't it?
Yeah.
To a certain extent. And that's what's happening now.
Do you mind if we pillage your village?
Yeah. Do you mind? What about if we give you these privileges and benefits? How about that? Can we pillage you then?
Yeah.
Can we charge you a bit extra if we get you to
we'll
say you're happy
you.
to?
Yeah, we'll come back and stop the next lot doing it.
Yeah, that's where we're at right now, man.
Yeah, it is.
That Admiralty Maritime, blah, blah, blah.
Tyranny.
Shout out to the common sensors in the building. You know we love you lot, man. Shout out to your more. What's going on? Chris Lahat, Black Einstein, evening all. Shout out to Regantology. What's going on? Kenny Rebel. All my people in the building. IBMCs, what's good? Yeah, it's good to see you lot, man. As always. How's you lot's week been, man? Has it been mad? Been crazy? You've been out of lockdown. Everyone keeps saying that they're going to drop the restrictions now. Everything's going to be over like next month or whatever. Is that true or is it just...
I don't know.
Yeah, man. I think people just change shit, man.
I haven't seen...
To be honest.
I haven't seen... It's like, if I go on Twitter, I don't really read Twitter. I just think of something I'm going to say and just say it. And then don't bother reading anyone else's stuff. So I haven't sort of seen anything. And I don't really get to watch the news or anything like that. So, yeah.
I don't blame you, man. You're not.
I've heard it. I've heard people, you know, when I walk in the front door, people in my house will say they're going to drop restrictions. And I'm just like, all right, okay.
Yeah, like I haven't heard or seen anything solid for me to really believe that. Because I find it kind of hard, you know, and people are just like, yeah, they're going to, like, what? You don't find that a bit strange?
Does feel like it's over. If you know what I mean.
It's
like
been felt like it's over. Boy.
Yeah, but normal people who have been obeying everything just seem to be sort of slotting back in to just not really doing all that stuff anymore. Still seeing a lot of masks in the shops and all that, but
yeah.
But
I'm seeing them outside, people at the bus stop on their own.
Someone at work, we had someone at work who just didn't turn up on Monday and he said, "Oh, I've got COVID," and then Tuesday he was in again.
So, well, they dropped restrictions, didn't they?
Okay. Well,
shout out to See Through the Script in the building. What's going on, brother? Canadian connection locked in. Turbo Tubalicious, what's good, man? Right, so Turbo's saying some parts of the US and Canada are dropping them. Huh. Is that true? See Through the Script, is that true? Canada's dropping restrictions or what?
Ontario, apparently.
Ontario. Is that that's where the convoy are at? The truckers.
Not sure.
Yeah, I think so, man.
Got a third voice in the room.
Switzerland. Switzerland too.
Do you want to introduce the third voice?
Yo, let's introduce the third voice, man. Of course.
The third voice.
What's going on, brother? We got hey, you lot, please give some fire emojis, give some warm welcomes to our brother Xavier, the life coach. My brother, what's going on, man?
Just living my best life, man. Just living my best life.
Camera's looking good. Yes,
good?
Man. Good to have you on, bruv.
Good to be here, bro. Long time, man.
Yeah, it's been
I
a
haven't
minute.
seen you for at least 2 years.
Yeah. Surprise, surprise.
I wonder why.
That's going to be the conversation with a lot of people, boy. Hey, see, what have you been up to the last 2 years, man? Right, just lockdown. Yeah, like, I ain't really doing nothing. Shooting myself. What about you, bruv? Some people better own up to it. Like, that's what I'm saying. Some people need to own up to the shit. Like, yo, bruv, you changed. Like, when this shit popped off, like, you're a different guy.
Yeah, when the chips were down, there's a lot of people that didn't stand up. But, you know, I mean, it's real.
Yeah. Oh, well. To what extent is it?
The reactions are real.
Is it real though? Yeah, you know. Shout to DJ Pro Tracks. What's going on, man? People coming in. The common senses are here with us. Right. You know, I think the bottom line is like, okay, now I think people can't act the same way that they did before because they've kind of overstepped the boundaries, you know. You're like, oh wow, so this is the frame of mind you're in. Like it's like you feel like you're in a movie or whatever. You're not in reality.
Yeah.
And so you can just ignore the shit, and like the credits will roll all of a sudden. But nah, this is the reality, man. And it's amazing to see the type of characters that I know that have been struggling to face that reality. Like, right, you think this is it? You think, you know, oh, you're gonna like drop dead tomorrow or something like that. You better prepare for that then. Like, you should be preparing for that as opposed to like sitting there shitting yourself about it.
Yeah.
You know? You better live every minute like you're about to die tomorrow then. And do your best to make sure it don't even happen within those minutes.
Do you know what? I think most people live like actors and actresses. And when it gets really real, or when the lights are down, or when the filming stops, then you go back to who you really are. And a lot of people have found out who they really are. And you find out who you really are in extreme scenarios, in extreme circumstances. And a lot of people, I think, are shocked as to how they have reacted. Some have surprised themselves. And a lot of people have been disappointed by other people who talk the talk, but the walk ain't right, man.
The walk is different, boy.
Yeah,
the walk is different. Man are tripping up on their walk. Man are moonwalking backwards and that.
When they're talking the talk, they're on some crip walk type thing, you know what I mean? And then when they're walking the walk.
They're walking like, you know, the meme of Homer Simpson, like walking backwards into the bush.
In the bush.
That's the walk people are walking, boy.
Wow.
It's nuts, man. Like, honestly, I don't know. It's baffling, but it's heartwarming in a sense that you get to see who the real people are.
Correct.
We were talking about earlier, like you realize like the people that are sort of closer to the source, like, you know, understanding things in a more logical way, are people that have some form of spirituality there.
Correct.
There's some connection there higher than just like the physical realm or the mental realm. And so, like, you know, people like yourself, when I saw you speaking out, I was like, oh, bruv, don't forget you had the anthem, this guy. So how I know Xavier, by the way, he's a life coach, but I know him as an actor, as a singer. And, you know, so it's been quite a while since we've hung out, but, you know, like I've had you know, he's recorded for me. He's actually coached me into singing as well. So I could do the Neighbours from Hell, the barbershop quartet thing. Yeah, he helped with that. And then he also sung the hook on The Milkman, which was produced by Black Einstein on the Maestrogen LP. All right. And yeah, that was jokes, man.
That was fun.
But yeah, this thing popped off, and Xavier on his Instagram, he had a hit. He had a hit, bro. You remember it?
Wash your hands.
Yeah. Wash your hands. Wash your hands. COVID-19. Wash your hands.
It's a little something that you need to understand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yo.
Do you know what? When I did that, it was just a little bit of fun because I thought it would just be a couple weeks, you know, to stem the curve. But anybody who works with mindset knows that anything that you do for 3 weeks is habit forming. And they literally, to be honest with you, I didn't think it would work. I didn't think it could work because I thought people are smarter than this. But when you instill the right amount of fear at the right time, then it's doable. And it was, I mean, I applauded them. I literally applauded the actual fact that they managed to get the world at one stage to sit down.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Wash their hands.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, with the power of obviously money, you know, currency, I think it just made it like that. It was no problem because you got people that need to pay their bills, you know, they need to maintain their lifestyle. They want to keep their job. And so in any which way or form, you can make sure that that's the key element to them, like acquiescing, them having to do what you want them to do. That is masterful, man.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, we've got to this stage where we're so reliant on money to keep us alive, when in reality, it isn't that. It isn't the currency that's what's keeping us alive. It's what the currency can obtain, what it can grab. And so, you know, then the mind's got to work a bit harder, but there are ways around it, you know. But we've been buried in
we've been brainwashed for a very long time. And when you consider that, you know, from when they removed the gold standard from money, all money's debt, really.
Yeah, it's currency.
Do you know what I mean? All money's debt. So you're taking debt to pay debt, pretty much.
Promise, yeah. It says it on it, innit? Like, right. I promise to So it's basically, so money is gold and, you know, things that are tangible.
Right.
Right. So gold, silver, I guess platinum and things like that. Bronze,
Commodities.
copper. But then when they come in and say like, now this is cash, this is currency. It's it used to be that this note meant you could get its worth in gold when you go and exchange it with the bank. But we've ended up just continuously giving each other promises that we can do that, promises until now just the promise alone has become worth something.
Yeah.
So
and it's actually not worth something, but the illusion is that it is worth something.
Yeah. But so it's like anything, you know, like someone, oh, how long have you had that? I've had it for 51 years or whatever. And oh, yeah, I got it from my granddad and he had it for 200 years. Oh, wow. So it costs more and more. Somehow we put value on it because it's older and it's older and it's older and it's older. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's weird how, but now it's just a piece of paper, like, here, bam. It's as long as everyone else, you know what I mean? So we have a general consensus, like, you know, consensus reality that everyone feels the same and believes the same thing. Now this is worth what we think it is.
And do you know what I think was interesting throughout this whole pandemic? People were made to sit down. Your money didn't mean anything because you couldn't go anywhere. You couldn't spend it anywhere. And then they start to understand the true essence of life. What is it really about? And it's about, you know, just about connecting with other humans, which was interesting because most people fell out with family members, friends, husbands, wife, divorce, and the abuse rates had gone out the roof. And then people, I think they started to realize just how much they depend on these normal things like going to bars and going to clubs and going on holidays and whatever else. So it was very interesting for humanity to have a look at itself and to then start to decipher what is real, what is needed, what's necessary and what not. And that was interesting to me. The psychology of that for me was amazing. And as you know, just being a life coach in that time, my practice went through the roof. It went through the roof because most people live their life with distractions of what's happening around us, the distraction of work, the distraction of bars, clubs, family, friends, traveling, all that. I've got to do this, I've got to do that. But when they say, stay at home and we're going to pay you furlough, but we know what that is, benefits. And people are like, okay, so what do I do now? It's like, now you live, but people didn't know how to live. What's living? I thought, you know, because I've had to work 40 hours, 50 hours a week. Now you don't have to. What do I do? And people have learned that I've defined myself completely by this system that I've bought into. But what's the real?
When you say it like that, you know, then I can understand the people that are like, yeah, but things like this have to happen for people to wake up. Because I never really could understand why they would say that. Like, I'm sure there were other ways to do it, but then when you say it like that, like, yeah, because I know people that really did struggle at the beginning. They're like, oh man, I've got to stay at home with the kids and all that. And I was like, what? Like, that should be... Like,
that should be a good thing.
Yeah. And so you start seeing, like you're saying, like, where's mankind got to? Like, who are we when we can't even be around our own family for too long? Like, we're itching to just go work for some stranger.
Correct.
Who don't really give a fuck about us because he's giving us way less than he's earning for us doing this job. Do you know what I mean? And so all these things start coming together, like you said, saying, and it's either you know, smell the coffee and you wake up, or you pretend it's, you know, I guess licorice or something. You know what I mean? Like, you just carry on. You carry on.
And a lot of people did. A lot of people struggled with it. A lot of the people that I spoke to were running away from demons for 10, 20, 30 years, 5 years, whatever. And having all that time to themselves, they had to face them because there's nowhere else to go. There's no distractions. Life distractions got shut down by the pandemic. And now you're left with your thoughts and whatever else. And there's a ton of people that struggled with that. Like you would know, depression went out the roof, anxiety went out the roof. And it was purely because people just forgot how to be. Brilliant at doing, really poor at being. So then when you allow them to kind of like, okay, cool, now you can be whoever you want to be, do whatever you want to do. It's like, no, but I need to be told. I need to be shown how, where, when, why, and all that kind of stuff. And when you leave them to their own devices, then it's a panic.
Yeah. How did you you know, when the bomb dropped with all of this, then how did you deal with? I know what you're gonna say, but yeah, how did you deal with it? How, you know, like taking it on, obviously family and friends and whatnot.
So thankfully, my son, my family, well, most of my family and a couple of my friends didn't subscribe to it. So for me, one of my all-time favorite films, probably the number one, is The Matrix.
I thought he was gonna say They Live, but yeah, The Matrix is another one. But
yeah. But
of
The
course.
Matrix, come on,
go on.
come on. But the first one, just the first
Yeah,
one. The rest
okay.
just got too complicated and got too up themselves. But when you understand that, what's the question I ask is what's real and what's imposed upon us? Because if you think about it, from birth we are being programmed. From the last trimester of pregnancy, your mum's pregnancy, to the age of 7, our brain's in a state of theta, where we are downloading, essentially. We're just downloading information. And we are working based off what we see from our environment and, you know, from mum, dad, school, friends, or whatever. And we're downloading. So if we're downloading in that state, and we're learning how to laugh, and we're learning what's funny, and we're seeing sadness, and we're seeing fear, and we're learning about phobias and all that kind of stuff through other people, then ultimately that's not ours. We don't own those thoughts. We don't own those feelings. Those are other people that we've taken on, we've adopted. So it's like, well, if they're not yours, why are you afraid of something that doesn't belong to you? Because you've taken it on as yours. So you've taken on somebody else's reality, and you're living somebody else's dream, if you will, and you're playing it out as your reality. So it's like, okay, cool. Now you get to a stage of 7 where you start kind of like developing your own skills and blah, 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 and even younger for a lot of people. But then at what point do you decipher who you are? And in order to do that, you then have to look at your past and go, most of that wasn't even mine. Literally, it's me living through other people. So I can sit you down and tell you about my reality, and what happened. And if I'm really good at it, which I can paint pictures, I can do that. I can make you believe that you're in it with me. And then you can walk away thinking like, rah, that was because obviously the brain doesn't know the difference, not obviously, but the brain doesn't know the difference between a thought and an event. It just reacts.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, because I was reading something about the reason why things like sports and computer games and whatnot work for people and kind of keep them in a sedated state. You know, even though they get excited about their team and whatnot, this is all they get excited about. So any anger, any excitement, anything that where they feel like they're getting some form of unjust from work or whatever, they'll take out on the other team or the other team's players in some form, whether it be screaming and shouting, you know, all of that. But then they feel like they've got it out. And it's the same with like shoot 'em ups and beat 'em ups and all that, like computer games. Yeah, so I guess that goes with what you're saying.
So it's a way of venting. It's a way of expressing yourself. Hence why the metaverse is going to be ridiculous, because so people are losing themselves in that. But then when you start questioning people about the thoughts that they had and whatever else, then you start to realize that people are actually torturing themselves with memories of the past, the worst ones, and they're replaying them in your present. So they're now longer from 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago. They're now. And your body reacts to that. So if I say to you, do you remember when... Okay, I won't say that because your wife will be listening. But if you remember the first fight you had, right? Do you remember?
Yeah, vaguely now.
Okay, do you remember ever getting beaten up?
Yeah.
Okay, now I can walk you through that fight, and get you to explain it and then what happened to you, and you will start feeling the trauma. Chemically right now from a fight that happened how long ago?
Yeah, like what? 25 years ago.
25 years ago. And I can make a trauma from 25 years ago appear right now, this second, if we start talking about it. You're not having a fight. The guy's not beating you up. So if I
you talking about like me going back to
Come
like,
on.
yo, too dumb, you feel it? Still dumb. So dumb. Yeah.
So you're actually experiencing that right now. Right? And then you can get pissed and you can get angry, you can get quiet and settle down because you're like, He couldn't do it now. He couldn't do it now. I'll bruck him up now. And then you get lost into that place. Now, if I can get you to do that, right? How easy is it for me to sit you in front of a television screen for 3 weeks and say, stay home, save life, shave the NHS.
Yeah.
And then I give you a death count. And then literally all you're doing is sitting down in front of that thing, watching it. And I can control your mind very easily now. And because of social media, you can get the collective attention rapidly. Rapidly. Whereas you couldn't do it before because you just turn off the TV, but they got you on the phones, they've got you on the billboards, they got you on the taxis, they got you on the buses and everything else. And you've been bombarded from all areas. And then you're now having to try and live free of this. So how I dealt with it was that I unplugged. And I found platforms early doors that were speaking another truth, if you will. Yeah. Let's just put it that way. Another truth.
Another truth.
Because I can't tell people it's a lie, because whatever you consider to be truth, even if it's a lie, you repeat it long enough, it becomes your truth. And the best analogy I give for that is do you believe in Father Christmas?
No.
Will you tell your child about Father Christmas?
Yeah.
Okay, you don't believe in Father Christmas, but you're going to tell your child about Father Christmas.
Yeah, what I'm going to tell my child is Father Christmas isn't real.
Thank you. Now, the thing about it is most people don't believe it. They found out by the age of 9, 10 years old that Father Christmas wasn't real.
Yeah.
And I go, was you disappointed? No, not really, because I still got my presents. So it was just like, you let it slide, you let it slide. And then when Christmas came and then you had your children, you tell your children about Father Christmas, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
But why? Well, because it's the magic. No, it's a lie. Come on, Xav, it's a lie.
Yeah.
And you found that it was a lie and you was vexed. So why are you now telling the lie and you're fobbing it off to your children as real, knowing that they're going to get to the same age that you was?
But
9?
I think with that, and this is why I say that I'll tell them, is because your friends and all that, you can't really have them be the odd one out as such.
Why?
Because it just makes things awkward. You know what I mean?
And awkward, what's wrong with awkward?
No, well, the thing that's wrong with awkward is that not everybody can handle it.
And the child that you raise will be able to.
Well, the child that I raise, I'll say, oh, by the way, Father Christmas isn't. When they get to an age where they can understand that, oh, there's some things that are real, some things that aren't.
As soon as they can talk,
like you said. Well, yeah, and I think that it's cool to do that as well. But I think there could be times when, depending on the child's temperament, like their nature, they may not be able to handle being told that at that time. There's stages because everybody's different. And so there could be stages in the child's life when it would be better than not to. And like you said about the development up until the age of 7,
yeah,
those sort of things are part of, it's like the congregation of children together and at the same time, opening the presents at whatever time and understanding, oh, somebody came through the chimney and dropped, there's all that whole sort of glitz and, around it. So because of that,
the illusion.
The illusion is there. But then you tell them at a decent age, like it's the same thing. Like you don't like you see with children and their kids and parents and their kids when they're leaving. Like say the mum's leaving and the pups is there, or vice versa. They'll want to sneak off rather than just say like, oh, I'm going to work now. Bye. I'll see you later. And the kid will just get used to that. But then now you've got the kid always crying because they know you're about to leave. And those sort of things you can tell them from early, because that's just understanding like, oh, this is normal. This isn't, it shouldn't be. But yeah, this is normal that.
Here's what's interesting about that. You can tell a kid anything.
And the
kid can handle it.
Yeah.
The actual person who can't handle it is us.
It's true.
We can't handle it. I told my son from early doors, Father Christmas ain't real, but you get presents. How you think I'm not going to tell you, right, that this white guy from the North Pole who's slightly overweight, wears a red and white suit, flies around on a sleigh with reindeers. My son's going to look at me and think, Daddy's mad.
Don't forget the red nose, the reindeer.
Right, the red-nosed reindeers. So you're willing to tell your children, right, this absolute myth, as opposed to telling them the truth of, this guy ain't real, and here's how it works. Dad works hard to put food and presents underneath the Christmas tree and on the table, and then it's our fears and it's our doubts and it's
so why use a Christmas tree? Why use presents on that day then? Why do all the rest of it?
I don't, by the way. So
Okay, well,
I used to struggle seeing a teacher outside of school when I was little. I didn't really struggle with finding out the tooth fairy weren't real
yeah.
or anything, but it used to freak me out if I was in a shop and there was a teacher there. I'd just go,
being normal.
For real. Like, oh shit, is he following
you
me?
live in school. You know, do you know what I mean?
Following me,
To me,
shit.
that was weirder than just like when I found out tooth fairy weren't real.
He knows that I stole that compass.
Yeah.
Like, damn, there's a bit of he's got Masonic tendencies.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he's a carpenter and that. He uses like the compass and the square now and again.
Protractors.
In-house. Yeah, in-house. Shout out to Teddy T. What's going on? Yeah, man. What's that? Ah, someone's on shrooms.
Kenny Rebel.
Kenny Rebel. Oh,
Daddy's
shit.
on
Kenny Rebel's on the shrooms.
I think maybe
On
he's
the
talking about people
shrooms.
talking to their kids about Santa. Maybe is that what he's on about?
Yeah, possibly.
Yeah.
Man, Santa was definitely. Well, then reindeer were on shrooms. They were flying, innit?
They have to be flying that high.
Flying, boy. Yeah, well, I think each to his own with that as well.
Yeah.
You know, at the same time, like I've learned, especially over this past little time, I've learned like, yeah, it's easier for things to be neutral until you understand more with people. You know what I mean? So let's get into this life coaching thing, because me and Dan were talking about it a while ago as well.
Mm.
We were wondering what is it like? How does it help people? What are the benefits? And then obviously when this thing come in, then I realized like, yo, there's a bunch of people out there who need some fucking life coaching. Bruv, don't let me have to do it, boy. I bring out the, you know what I mean? Like my mum used to use wooden spoon, belts, pots, pans, slippers,
tree,
whatever. She beat that into me, man. Like I got my life coaching skills, you know what I mean, on tap till the age of like 13 or probably about 12. When I learned like I could block and duck.
Wow.
You know what I mean? And
wow.
Like, that's it. She's
when
like,
you inched over her.
Yeah. Once you get a little taller, she's like, right, you got to reach up now.
Blocking and ducking got me worse at beatings, I'll tell you that much. No, you stood and took it. You couldn't block that. What? Crazy.
She beat the common sense. That's why we are, we're powered by the cult of common sense. So it's, perfect that we got someone like you up here.
All right.
How did you get into the life coaching thing? Like, where did it begin?
Essentially, I asked a question. I've always been about mindset. I've always appreciated what it is to ultimately get your mind right.
Cerebral mother lover.
Come on. And you do that by essentially challenging the way you think and challenging conversations and questions and whatever else. A bit like the whole Father Christmas thing, just kind of like doing that for fun. But essentially, people don't challenge that kind of stuff, even though they know it's not true. People tend to go with whatever's working. Unfortunately, for most people, what works for them is not working for you. And what it is just about being able to challenge the narrative. So what is the narrative and why are you going along with this? And what does your spirit tell you? What does your intuition tell you? But ultimately, I was on my Instagram and I was saying, if you have an issue, if you have a problem, who would you rather talk to? A complete stranger or family and friends? And to my surprise, 74% of my following at the time, I've probably had about 40,000 followers at the time. 74% said a complete stranger. 74%. I was like, wow, because I've got 5 older brothers and a sister, and I used to speak to them all the time because that was my go-to. But I understand that a lot of people can't, and they don't do it because they don't want judgment through fear and perception. So they'd rather talk to a stranger where they can leave it there and stroll away from it. So ultimately, I put myself out there like that, and I started to talk about it. I call it my morning minute message. So I just throw out analogies and scenarios and circumstances and whatever else. And people be like, I don't agree with you. No, that doesn't make sense. And I'll be like, why? And I'll start having these debates in my DMs, and people will be like, yeah, but because of that. And they will literally answer me based on the actual, so we was talking about earlier on, 3 strikes and
you're out.
I could go on, but you know that. So you finish off the sentence because it's what you've been programmed to learn, believe, and whatever else. When we used to walk past a monkey tree,
Ringer.
roses.
Yeah.
Come on. pocket full of whatever. And essentially, we
go
learn
off.
these things, and they
Baba. That's
black shape. Have you anyhow?
Yeah.
So ultimately, all these things we've learned and we've taken it as truths without even questioning it, without even understanding the genesis and the origins of these things. We just repeat it and we say it, whatever.
Yeah.
And then these become your way of life. So when I was challenging people, they'll be like, I don't agree with it and it's not right and blah, blah, blah. And then when we have the conversation, they'll be confused because what I said makes sense, but it goes against everything what they've been taught. So I have this understanding that we in normal comprehensive schools are taught one thing, whereas the private schools, the Harrows, the Eatons, the Oxfords, the Cambridge, whatever else, they're taught to rule us, the lesser people, if you will. And then when you start looking at what information are we getting, what are we actually sharing, what do we understand, what is true and what is false and what's an illusion, then you start literally pulling out of the matrix and you're like, hold on a second, Wizard of Oz.
Yeah.
And then you get to the wizard and you pull back the curtain and you realize, wait, it's a man with a big microphone shouting and screaming, and I was in fear of this, but this person is no more powerful than I am, and they don't have any more authority than I do, apart from what we give them. So what I do in my coaching is by simply challenging people's thoughts, facilitating them getting their mind right, and empowering them, letting them know that you're not a victim of your life, you're a creator of your life. But most people don't believe they can create because they haven't been shown how to. So they feel that they have to do this because there's no choice. And I go, well, here's the choice. And they're like, how did you do that? I'm like, just by opening up that portal, which you've had closed for many years, because you were told how to think, told how to act, told how to drink. You can't do this, you can't do that, you can't go here, you can't go there.
Yeah, that's deep, man, because there are a lot of people who really do need that. And, you know, like I was saying, we all have different temperaments, different natures. So people that are probably like yourself who didn't necessarily need that as such because you had your brothers and sisters there.
Yeah. Oh, I needed it, trust me.
You know, well, okay.
I got it more.
You got it, yeah. I should say that you got it. And there are people out there that don't get it and they don't even understand how they can even get that sort of help. If they can get their message out. And like you said, obviously to somebody they don't know, it's probably easier for them. And so you're helping people sort of mold who they really should be. Like we know when they talk about your full potential, like you're helping them. And so what, you know, so is that a case of you having to find out who exactly they are? Like you got to dig deep into their psyche.
Oh, right. When I'm talking with clients, I don't have to dig deep into their psyche. It's not that deep. It's not that intense. It's actually very basic and it's very simple. And when you understand a few very simple things about psychology and how the mind works and how we think and whatever else, you can pretty much change anyone and anything. Therapists and psychiatrists, they study for many, many years and there's principles and laws and rules that they abide by. Whereas me as a life coach, I see it as a conversation with somebody that's slightly more informed than you. And we all have life coaches. They're called parents, but we spend most of our time ignoring them. And I didn't have any choice but to listen to my parents. And when I got older, we start to replicate our parents. And then you're going to be like your parents with your little one, and you're going to see it or hear it, and you're going to be like, oh, that's what my parents used to do to me. And you're supposed to celebrate that as opposed to whatever. And then you say, I'm not going to do this like my dad. My dad never told me he loved me. Old school Jamaican. Never told me he loved me. Never hugged me. Never kissed me. Never none of that. I tell my son that all the time. I tell him that all the time because it doesn't make him weaker. When my son tried to talk a certain way, I grab him up. There's one time when the first time my son did it, he kind of like backchat me. And not unfortunately, but he grew up and he's about as tall as I was. And I literally went up into his face, my forehead on his forehead, right? And I was like, I dare you say that again. I dare you to say that again.
Forehead on forehead, boy. Like
the issue is this. I would rather me do it to my son in love than for some stranger out on the road to do it to my son in anger, or a policeman to grab my son in anger, or for some whatever. Because when my son sees it from me and he understands where it's coming from, and I'm telling him what I need to tell him as information, he understands it as, okay, cool. I don't want that to be the case outside of any other person but my dad, because my dad is controlled in that. And my son sees that. So when he's out and about, he diffuses things as opposed to be standing up there like a bad man and like whatever else, because you're not always going to win those fights, as you reminded yourself earlier on in that fight that you lost.
Thanks for reminding me again. The rage.
You all like me when I'm angry.
Yeah, I wish that. Oh man, I used to wish I could turn into the Incredible Hulk. You know, and you're standing in the mirror just going, and then a little, you know what I mean? You poop yourself a little bit. Get a little headache as well.
Yeah.
But hold on a sec. Let me see what this is about. News flash. All right. Sorry about that. Yeah, man. We are here with Xavier, the life coach, mother lovers. Some shit you might never know nothing about. So yeah, so getting into it, obviously, you've got to then now put the word out for people to know that you're qualified life coach and what it entails as well. And then obviously, what I'm trying to find out is, was the people that you're dealing with, were they, you know, was it awkward at first? Was it like, okay, right, how can I draw this person out from the show that they're within, like, and do it in a way that's not gonna make them feel, you know, belittled or smaller than they are, especially when it's a stranger as well.
You don't get to have that option. You don't get to have that option.
There's a lot of
You're
tears
in
there.
need. So your ego and your pride, you have to sit that down. When you really need something, you sit those stuff down. You see what I'm saying? What I do is I do everything only via my my Instagram. So what happens is, because then people get to see me, get to see if they like me, because I can't sit down with a complete stranger. Rather someone that doesn't know me. So because they see me on the gram every single day talking about stuff and sharing about stuff, they can relate to me. So when they see me, I'm already in you. Yeah. So now all I have to do, and you're already open to me, so all I need to do is just share a little bit, and then we get into the conversation. Yeah. The first person that I that booked in to see me didn't turn up. Didn't turn up. And I walked into the restaurant. I was waiting there, and I was like, what the hell? Who am I kidding? Who's going to want to come and sit down with me and have me lambast them for an hour or 90 minutes or whatever else? Yeah. But I kept on at it, and then slowly but surely I started to get more clients. And then I remember one of the most awkwardest clients that I had, or a defining moment where I was with a client who's, he was in his late 50s. He was a rock star. And he had issues with his wife. He didn't want to be there, but she said, if you don't go and see this life coach, the marriage is over. So he sat down with me, and he's like, sat down, older English white man, and he was legs crossed, arms crossed. And I was like, good evening. He's like, hello. Well, come in then, let's get on with it.
Wow.
You know, I don't want to be here, and I'm only here because I have to be here, and blah, 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 and whatever. I was like, who the hell do I think I am? I'm not here to be abused. I'm my mama's child. And I wanted to run out the place, but I thought to myself, I know who I am. And this guy is just vexed because he's been made to do something he doesn't want to do, but he doesn't even appreciate that this is good for him. Thankfully, being in the music industry, I started to talk to him about music, and then he chilled out a little bit and he started laughing. And before you know it, the hour had gone by, and he was like, yes, I enjoyed that. That was fun. We should do this again. Thank you. And walked away. And that was a defining moment for me, because it meant for me that I was validated in what I believed in myself. What other people were saying is that you're not qualified, you haven't done any courses, you haven't got any accreditation or whatever else. But I was like, all I haven't done is sat down in a room and been programmed by a person, which is what school is, which is what university is, colleges. You just sit down and you get programmed. And I don't want your program, thank you. Because your program is limited and limiting. Whereas what I'm doing is trying to set people free from the program that you've plugged them into. one other client, she's left a message on my website. She's been in therapy for 24 years. She was in and out of therapy for 24 years.
Wow.
43 years old, lives in a £3 million townhouse in Fulham, recently divorced, 3 children, executive, top of the game in her industry, and needing therapy. And I sat down with her for 3 months. She saw me on a podcast that I did with another guy. Sat down with her for 3 months. And after 3 months, she said to me, "We're done, aren't we?" And I'm like, "Pretty much." And she goes, "Every issue that I have, what you've told me allows me to marry, because I call it my commandments, because I have commandments. I marry your commandments with every issue that I have, and they disappear." Because it is that easy. If you understand, like biblically, we have commandments, we have laws, we have acts, and you abide by these laws and by these acts, and then you don't get fined. So I have mine. And if you abide by these ones, then you resolve all your issues and all your situations. If you break them or if you don't adhere to them, there's penalties.
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
And if you want to know what they are, sign up.
Where can people hit you up for that?
Purely on Instagram, all one word, Xavier, Xavier, the life coach, all one word.
Hit him up, mother lovers.
Xavier, the life coach, or xtlc.co.uk. That's my website if you want to get on at that. www.xtlc.co.uk. What I do say, however, is that I'm not for everyone. Definitely not for everyone. And my ego and my pride is absolutely fine with that. I've had people sit down with me and try to challenge me, literally, authors. Well, I've written a book about this and I don't agree with you. And I did, and I'm like, oh, I'm not here for this. I'm not here to try and persuade anybody.
Yeah.
Especially people that don't want to be persuaded. I'm here trying to help you find the best version of you by getting out of there. Because most people are stuck. And when you set them free, this particular lady, she had all these issues, and every issue, most of her issues was illusions. It weren't even real. And I'm like, how does that make sense? And she's like, and one of the most regular questions that I ask is, how does that benefit you? So people do things and they say things, and I say to them, how does that benefit you? And they go, it doesn't. I go, no, it must, because you're doing it. It's like, but it doesn't. So why are you doing it? And then there's only 3 words that I have as a rule that you can't say in my appointment. That's the only rule that I have. You can't say 3 words. And those 3 words are, I don't know. If I'm asking you a quantum physics question and I say to you, you must reply to me in Japanese, you have every right to say, I don't know quantum physics and I don't speak Japanese, so I don't know. And that makes sense. But when I'm asking you questions about why you do what you do and you're telling me you don't know, then that's madness. Because it's like, well, how do you make music? You can tell me how you make music. How do you make beats? You can tell me how you make beats. How do you put your rhymes together? I do this and I do that. And I go, okay, why do you think the way you do? I don't know. So you're an expert in what you do, but a fool in who you are?
Ooh.
How does that work?
Ooh. Dangerous. Not for everybody, mother lovers. Not for everybody, like he said. It makes a lot of sense though, man. And I think, like, obviously then you must come across this, and this is what you got to look at, is whether people are able to face themselves as well, because that's quite a task, to really boil it down. There are ways of doing it, obviously, that, like I've been there, gone on the ayahuasca journey.
Come on.
And like definitely just, it drew me out of myself. It was like, what I say to people is like, the hand of God, like your Morph. Remember Morph from Tony Hart? Tony Hart. He just made of plasticine, a man made out of plasticine, and the God's hand just comes and splats you, smashes you, you're splattered all on the table or whatever, and then he builds you back up. Builds you back up stronger. You come back a stronger, more powerful, more, do you know what I mean? It's like that. And I believe that what you obviously take people through a similar journey,
Yeah.
like where they can come out the other side and realize like who they are, what they're doing here. That's a big struggle for a lot of people, is not knowing who they are, and so from that you're already kind of lost.
Yeah.
But once you have a better understanding, then it calms you down. You know, everything makes sense all of a sudden. You're like, oh right, this isn't just it. This is just the journey of what it is. You know what I mean? This whole thing, this 3D, you know, some people like to call it hologram, or, you know, what's the other word? Like we're in somebody's dream. Whatever it is like this part of reality as we see it now isn't just what our journey is. And when you start accepting that, then you can move through it a lot easier.
You also other portals to a degree get opened up to you. Other options get opened up to you. And one of the most important things that the system, and whoever the system,
I remember you dropping that a lot, boy.
Bro,
the system,
bro, the system. It's their duty to keep us ignorant, to keep us dumb down, to keep us stupid. My parents, my dad was a pastor, my mum was an evangelist, so it was always about being being spiritually aware, right? And people fail due to lack of knowledge. That's all that is. And if I can keep you dumb, and back in the days, if you want to go a little bit deeper, they used to keep books away from slaves because they didn't want them to read and be informed.
Yep.
Right? They wanted them to be reformed, misinformed, but not informed. So they decipher, if we keep this and that away from you, and then we take your history and we turn it around and show you what we want you to see, then the information that we give you, even though it's misinformation, you're going to see it as good information. You're just going to repeat what we say, even though it's a lie. So if you can allow for someone to open your mind to a lie and repeat it long enough, then it becomes your truth.
Yeah.
And what I've done to my clients is just sat them down and question the lie, the narrative, if you will. And when I've questioned it, they've not been able to give me answers, or the answers that they've given me is like I say, bad things happening.
I don't know that one.
Thank goodness you don't know that, and I won't tell you because it will stick you. So bad things happen in a certain amount of numbers. This is what the saying is. But I'm saying, okay, but if it happens in X amount of numbers, wasn't it bad the first time it happened? Yeah. So why would you say it happens in threes is the answer? Because the first one was bad. So now the first one happened, you're like, there's going to be two more. So now you're looking for two more. Why would you look for two more when the first one was bad?
Yeah.
But it's that whole thing that we are drawn to. And it's not even consciously that we do it. It's subconscious. Now, those people that get it will appreciate that we spend 95% of our day in our subconscious mind and only 5% conscious.
Is it?
95% of our day we spend in our subconscious mind and only 5% in our conscious. If you had to...
So you're saying we're on autopilot?
Right. So what we do, and the autopilot is what we practice. You don't have to ask yourself, how do I put this mic on? You don't have to ask yourself, how do I roll a ting? Right? Your subconscious does that.
You're damn right.
Your subconscious does that. I can do this standing on my head doing backflips.
Bruh.
Right?
In the wind. I tell people, in the wind, boy. You can roll a zoot in the wind.
So your subconscious does that. And it's a good thing because you don't want your conscious mind try to figure out how to pick up that bottle right there that fell over.
Yeah.
Your subconscious does it. It fell over. You don't even think about it. You do that and you're multitasking. So ultimately what's happened is it's a series of routines and series of practice skills that you've put into your subconscious mind, right? That you do it long enough that your subconscious mind is now taken over from your conscious mind, and your conscious mind is free to do other things. When we was learning to drive, when you was learning to cook a thing, you was like, you couldn't do it, or you struggled to do it. You're thinking about X, Y, and Z. And the minute you learnt it, it became no big a deal. And then you start to do it naturally. So if you can program your subconscious mind where you spend 95% of your day in, and it's said, I believe, I don't know the exact term, but I think it's something like your subconscious carries out 40 million tasks a day, has a capacity to do that, whereas your conscious mind does 40. 40. This is what scientists have measured. So ultimately, you want to put as much in your subconscious mind as possible. So if you can put all the good stuff that you can start programming, you can just start doing this auto-suggestion and this speaking into your life, like with your child.
Mind mapping and things like that.
Come on. With your child now, you speak into your child's life what you want your child to actually produce. Because you'll talk about all the crap and all the dramas and your child will hear that and take that on board. Talk the beautiful stuff. Speak affirmations, words of affirmation to your child. You can spit your bars, but some of the bars you spit, you might not want your child to hear right now. But you can speak affirmation and words of whatever else to your child, and they grow from that. But that's about programming. So we are downloading from the last trimester of pregnancy to 7. So what are you downloading? What is the information that you're playing?
Information. I was just looking at the etymology of information, yeah? So etymology online, online. What's it say? Yeah, etym online, sorry. Late 14th century, information. Act of informing, communication of news. Right, so that means already that it doesn't necessarily mean the information you're getting is real. Right.
You're getting it.
So from Old French, information. Information. Maybe I'm supposed to say that. Information. Does that sound French enough?
Yeah, it does.
You
You can
reckon?
have that.
He's not having it. Advice, instruction. Look at that. Advice, instruction, yeah? From Latin, informationem. Maybe that, I don't know. That's how it sounds.
I might
Something
have
like
to put
that.
that one down.
Nominative informatio. Outline, concept, idea. Idea. Hey, I'll give you some
Concept.
information. This is an idea.
Concept.
You know what I mean?
Information. It's information.
Yeah.
It's like not fully formed. Yeah.
Exactly. You know, so we got to be careful with that even. You know, like how we take in the information we're getting, man. What else does it say there? I love this shit, man, because you're really finding out what the word you're hearing is saying. To train, instruct, educate, shape, give form to. You know, like Dee was just saying.
So it depends on who's doing the training, instructing, and the informing as to what information you take on board and what they give you. So they're not, like I said, you go to certain schools, you get certain type of information. You go to the other schools, you get the information on how to rule the other school, if you will.
Look at that. The word was used in reference to television broadcast signals from 1937 to punch card operating systems from 1944. Look at that, man. Definitely. You got to be careful where you get it from and analyze it, man. So you obviously you've got to deal with logic, man. Like a lot of what you've been saying is based on logic. And where would you say that stems from? Like you having that as a foundation, not needing to get Caesar's decree or the degree rather.
Yeah. I grew up in a house where I grew up in a 3-bedroom house with 9 people in there.
Jeez.
6 boys, mum and dad and sister.
Yeah,
Mum and dad had the double room, sister had the small room, the boys had the other double room.
Wow.
3 bunk beds. It was the most amazing thing that any parent could do. Now you have 2 children, mum and dad, and you need a 4-bedroom house because you need to have the children have their own rooms, which is teaching them how to not be a part of a team. It's teaching them how to be separate, teaching them not how to communicate. It's teaching them how to be separate and be apart. Whereas me and my brothers, we was all 6 of us, 3 bunk beds in one room. I used to look, the highlight of my day was my brothers coming home and then telling stories. I couldn't talk, I couldn't say anything because I didn't have any knowledge, I didn't have any wisdom. And when we were younger, the famous saying was children should be seen
and not heard.
There you go. We could keep doing this all day, by the way. And it made sense for me because I would rather hear and learn than speak because I didn't have any knowledge. I didn't have any information to give anybody. I had a whole bunch to receive. And as I said, from the age of 0 to 7, you're downloading. And I was constantly downloading. And because of me hearing 5 different opinions every single day, right, on what sex is, football, violence, anger, frustration, fear, doubt, religion, all these types of things. I was just downloading constantly. And it was only at one stage when I actually was asked a question and spoke out and realized that my voice actually meant something, that I was able to now start speaking things and saying things. But I know what you're saying, but have you considered this? Because I've grown up having to consider 5 different opinions all the time. So rather than taking 1 because only mum, or 2, mum and dad, or 3 because I've got 3 siblings, I was getting 5 every night, sat down in my bed.
Jeez,
Just like
That's
this.
a lot to take in, boy.
It's a whole load. So then what happens is that your brain learns how to take on multiple conversations, right, and bits of information, and then you decipher it, and then you put it in your box, because I couldn't talk. So I put it in categories, and I put it in filing cabinets in my brain. And I just learned that. So when I sit down and speak to people, I don't take no notes when I speak to clients. I have seen well over 1,000 clients in 3 years, right? And they call me up and they're like, "Oh, Zav, do you remember me?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I remember this, you this," and then, and they're like, "How do you do it?" I said, "It's just a spiritual connection."
Oh,
It's a
you
spiritual
remember
thing."
the
I remember.
situations?
I remember literally, and people like, "You won't remember this," and then I'm like, and I speak about it, and they're like, "How do you do that?" I goes, "I don't question it. I just know it. I just do it." And like when you start questioning it, then you start doubting it, you start fearing it, and whatever. I just do it.
It seems like this is your calling, man.
Bro. And there's something that you said early on, and I was gonna I meant to speak on it, but one of the most important things for any man, woman, and child to discover is what their passion and their purpose is, because most people are trying to figure out that. And people are trying to find out what their passion and their purpose is by looking outward, whereas I found mine by looking inward.
The inner Christos.
That's where it is.
Sacred oil.
Everything that you need is inside you, but it's as a seed. So if you feed, whatever you feed grows, whatever you ignore dies. Good, bad, or indifferent. You feed bad, bad grows. You feed good, good grows. You feed indifferent, indifferent grows. Whatever you feed grows. Whatever you ignore dies. If you want for your career to die, just ignore it. Stop putting out music. Stop doing this. You want it to grow, feed it. Put out music, do this. Whatever you feed grows. Whatever you ignore dies. Most people don't feed themselves. They're like West Indian mothers, where they feel West Indian African parents, where you feed the whole family and then you eat last. But by then you can't be bothered because you're not hungry anymore.
Yeah.
So then that's what happens. So, and I'll leave this point at this: you're an artist, you're a father, you're a husband, yeah, you're a friend, you're a colleague, you might be a brother, you might be an uncle. At what point are you?
Of course.
At what point?
At all times, man. At all times.
You.
Yeah.
But most people, they're always playing a role.
Yeah, of course, man. And that's where they get lost, isn't it?
Correct.
You're playing that role so much that when the moments when things are quiet, when there's no sound, there's nobody about, there's no cameras, there's no role to play, and then you don't know who you are. It's all awkward. And then that's, man that are drinking all the time, like
There you go.
blazing it up like crazy, like some form of way they have to be sedated and not within the reality of things. And like really breathing, like taking in some deep breaths.
Being present.
Yeah, and being present, and that is hard for people, man. But, man, we obviously up here and some shit you might not never know nothing about. We always try and help people with that. And so we got to give a shout out to one of our sponsors, which is Cannasseurs UK. Shout out to Cannasseurs UK. Big up to Sam, man. Listen, you can get your discount from cannasseursuk.com. That's a whopping 20% off any purchase when you put in the special code SYMNNKNA. That's some shit you might not never know nothing about. Yeah, man, hit them up, cannasseursuk.com. Listen, the products are top notch. That's one thing I can say for sure. The thing about CBD is that, obviously, apart from it being legal, of course, is that it gets you to that point that you need. It's almost like an adaptogen in a sense. So if you need like picking up, it will help you pick up. If you need relaxing. It'll help you relax. You know, like whatever sort of. Really good for you, man. They got a whole bunch of different products up there. From chocolates, the chocolate stirrers. You know what I mean? You just warm up some, like you're making a tea, bam, in the kettle, pour that shit into the cup, put the stirrers in, just, bruv. You feel like you're whipping it in the kitchen, whipping it in the kitchen. But it's legal, so you can whip all day. Yo, you can get indica CBD oil spray, sativa CBD oil spray, CBD coconut oil paste, full spectrum. You can also get CBD oil spray at full spectrum as well. Various sizes. And what I can say about the product is, for sure, it's made me feel a lot more, because I'm quite hyperactive normally. But I feel like it's kind of brought me to a level that's I can sustain and not get too like, you know what I mean? And I don't have to blaze as much. That's the cool thing about it. It's like, Rad, you don't realize it until after a while. And like, when you wake up from sleep, you're like, yo, I felt like a good sleep, man. And it might have only been 6 hours or something like that. Yeah. But it's still like, yo, that felt good. So I definitely advise people hit them up. And this personal business as well. It's not like some big industry giant that's out there like raping people for their money, man. So you definitely got to support that, man. Independent businesses, all day, man. Shout out to connoisseursuk.com.
And the other one,
then we got to shout out CMOS Boss.
CMOS Boss.
If you want to get your true, real, wild crafted, organic CMOS. Ain't no like
and other sea vegetables.
Yeah.
So
but the Irish moss, I'm just saying Irish moss. We can't even call it sea moss.
It's
the real
for the mixed spice, sea spice. Yeah.
Yeah. It's the real deal, man. Get your dose. You can get your bladder rack ladies. If you need, you know what I mean? If you got problems with the thyroids, I advise that you hit up cmossboss.co.uk for that bladder rack, because that will really help. Drink it like a tea. You can have a teaspoon like every other day or something like that. It'll sort your thyroids out, man. You know what I mean? Even certain man them, they got thyroid problems. Yeah. You know what I mean?
You get your thyroids hanging nicely again.
Certain man be lactating. You know what I mean? They got to sort out their thyroid
lactating.
Yo, especially through this whole pandemic thing, man. Certain man be lactating, boy.
There's a sea spaghetti, which is naturally high in iodine, vitamin E, calcium, magnesium, all these things that you
potassium.
You can take it. You can take as extra things, but you might as well get it all in one sea vegetable. Instead.
Yeah, the sea spaghetti is really cool because it's like a good alternative to normal spaghetti and whatnot. And the thing is, it don't really taste mad fishy or nothing either. Like you'd expect it would, but it doesn't. Once you boil it out, it's like bam, bam, bam. And you can also use it to make a gel as well. What else? There's spirulina as well, like proper spirulina, not none of that joke. You know what I mean? With the dye and all that he was talking about. There's people like, messing around with all that.
No.
Can't be doing that, man.
No.
Yep. That's the real deal right there.
So you can go to the
CMOS.
The code's on the screen anyway, cmossboss.co.uk.
There you
10%
go, yeah.
discount code, about 10.
About 10. And that's 10% off, man. Shout out to the mans them on the CMOS gel. You know them way there. You know what I mean? That's the new thing now, bro. You know what I mean? What you saying when they get some CMOS gel? You know what I was thinking? No, I'm not going to say it on air anyway. I've got an idea for some CMOS product. And
yeah, don't say that on air.
Nah, I ain't gonna.
You're going to demand that they name it after you. You should.
Nah, I don't want it named after me. Nah, I mean, name it after someone else. I'll just be, you know what I mean? It's nice to be the ghostwriter. Yeah, man, I would just be the ghostwriter on that, man. Thyroid problems all day, man. Shout out to your more. She's cracking up. Yo, the chocolate stirrers are banging, man. That is not a joke. They are.
There's a question from Broken English.
Shout out to Broken English in the building.
Yeah, of course.
Shout out to Oshi Okamilo. What's going on, bruv? You're getting big, lad.
So Broken English asking, what do you think about the evolution of music? Do you think the scene of artists and genres would be completely different if we didn't have YouTube and streaming sites and it was back to CD based, shot in out your cars? I think artists sending over a verse misses so much energy than being in the studio.
Oh, 100%, man.
100%,
That's changed the game fully, man, because when there's an energy that's there when you're with other people, you're collaborating, you're in the studio, there's a hype sort of energy that isn't always there because you're not always meeting. And so now the creativity that comes off the back of that, that energy bouncing off each other, that's why you get them crazy hits. And you can even hear it in the music now where it sounds like, oh yeah, my man just wrote his verse, recorded it and sending it over. It doesn't sound like they were together and, even wrote it back and forth or whatnot.
Yeah.
And I've definitely felt that. I've done a lot of tunes now, online, like what he's talking about, email. And where it's cool compared to when I've done it with people there, he's like, yeah, this is how it's meant to be. This is really how it's meant to be because you're performing on a higher level because of the atmosphere. Like, yo, I'm glad you're happy with this as well. Yeah, like there's that level of like, yo, camaraderie that ain't really there because
even changing things that you've written that you're happy with on the page, but as soon as you do it and someone else is there,
you'd be like, I can say it like that.
Part of you is like, oh, I don't know if that sounds good now. I've said it out loud in front of someone else. Even just saying it out loud to yourself, you might miss something that changes because you're performing in a way when someone else is there.
And it's not blatantly there, like it's not blatantly obvious. So the music's good enough that people would like it and they'll still accept it. But there's a certain level of energy that you could feel and sense in the music back in the day where people were doing that more, that isn't really there anymore.
I think what was we had so much things musically back in the day that was facilitated us being as great as what we as what we were in our performances, because you had the music, you had the atmospheres, you had the environments as well, and you can go into studio and it wasn't about trying to make money. It was just about the purity of the art form, and we just went out there and did what we did. I mean, my genre that I worked heavily in was the UK garage genre, and we used to go into studios and just literally 3-4 man in there. Everybody's just got energy. Everybody's just got a vibe, and we'll just spit the lyrics, write everything down. Monday we did it. Tuesday got press. Wednesdays on radio.
Wow.
Weekend is in the club. And when you know that's the formula, you can't beat that. You can't beat that. When you made something on Monday and on Saturday, you're in Ministry of Sound and people like Carl Tough Enough Brown and Matt Jam Lamont is playing the tunes, and then you go into the clubs and then the clubs are on point. So now you're doing it with a completely different mindset. So people nowadays are doing it just because they just want to try and get hits, or they want to try and push themselves for fame or whatever. But then you did it for the love of the game, and you would be in the club. I was in the club. I remember going clubbing for years, and my song playing, my garage song that I did, and my friends next to me not even knowing that it was my tune. Not even know it was my tune. But I'm just there and they're dancing up to it. Oh my goodness. And I'm just sitting down there thinking, I did that from the right place. My ego and my pride is okay. That you're enjoying it is more important. Like you said, the ghostwriter type thing. But when I did it, it was a moment, and I left the moment there, and you can do that in the passion of the moment. Whereas if you're doing it like in your one bedroom and you're just there and you're putting this up and you're trying to do it, it's a different energy, and I think that comes across as well.
Think about it from the beginning, yeah. You're performing before there was any recording. What were you doing? You're performing in front of people. That's when you're doing your music, yeah. Then now recording starts coming in, the record, they started pressing vinyls. Like, you have to rehearse the hell out of this shit to make sure when it's time to record, you're doing it right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's in front of people. That's the whole band. That's, whoever, like the composer with the singer and the musicians or whatnot. So you're still performing in front of people, innit?
Yeah.
You're collaborating in the studio type thing. Then it moves on to tape. Same thing. Same thing. Bam. But then... And look, is it a coincidence? is it a coincidence that the music ain't as memorable when now you could just do it online? Like, yeah, I'll do it in my bedroom. Oh, how did you guys get together? Oh, we never actually met until we had to do our first rehearsal for the. He did it in his bedroom in, you know, wherever, like Norway, and I was in Glasgow. Yeah, I mean, like, right. No wonder.
It's
shout out to Norway and Glasgow. That's not shots. No shots to you.
No shots fired.
Yeah.
No violence. And I think it's interesting, and it's just the way how things have changed and adapted. But the question I guess I would like to ask you, if it's because you're still in the industry and you're still doing that, is it? I can't even say is it better, because we have to adapt. But how's the whole adapting been for you?
What, into the digital world, or?
Yeah, and into this format of music compared to when you started out.
Yeah, it's kind of weird at first, like transitioning, I think, like kind of getting used to, okay, doing stuff more in a digital way. But what I understood was that I have to learn, you know, dinosaurs, if they ever existed, by the way, who knows? But yeah, they didn't evolve. You know, that's like the ones that did survive evolved. You know what I mean? And that was the notion I had. So I was like, okay, this is where things seem to be going in the digital world. So you better learn how to get on a computer and really, you know, luckily for me in school, I had computers and that. So, you know, but then the whole, whether it be like, the hard part was before you make a tune, you put it out, you know, you promote it and whatnot, put out flyers and, you know, do performances and whatnot. And people are going to get it. Mm-hmm. It wasn't necessarily like where now it feels like you have to go, hey, check out this thing that, yeah, you know, you're following me because you're a fan. Yeah, check out this thing that I need you to check out because,
and that's,
you know what I mean?
It's weird.
It's like the dynamic changes. And so that's what you got to start getting used to. Like, oh shit, now I've got to start asking you, right, like, if you've seen the thing I've got out as opposed to you asking me.
This is what I mean. How was that for you? How was that?
Yeah, that was weird. That was kind of weird. And because I'm not really a salesman, I'm a musician. I'm not into like, here, buy this off me. Like, yeah, you should really buy it. And you know, I'm not that guy. So it's kind of awkward. And as an independent artist, obviously, it's quite awkward. But then I just gradually started learning, okay, where do I fit in this sort of new way of putting out music, and how can I make it work for what I do? And then gradually it started getting there, and I understood that, yeah, you know, obviously the live thing is like a big part of who I am. So I've got to make sure that that's always ticking, and then I can make music whenever I want.
Oh, that's where you smash it, by the way. That's where you absolutely smash it, bro. Your live performances are, I don't think that's something that can be taught, number one, and I don't think that there's many people that perform like that live now either. I don't think that they have that kind of connection and that kind of realness on the stage. There's a lot of people that struggle with that.
Yeah, cheers, man. That means a lot, bro. Coming from you, man.
No, for real. For real. I recognize that.
Yeah, man. Thanks. He's got black man blush. You lot can't see it, but I'm going burgundy right now.
Burgundy blush.
Dan, you can see me going slightly burgundy. Well, there were some other questions as well there, right? But yeah, I hope that kind of got to the music side of things. Yeah, Osh was saying, big talk. What things do you program your youths then? So what things do you
program into?
Oh, into your youths.
Just real life. Real life. It depends on the child. It depends on the parents. It depends on what you are willing to expose yourself to. Children, I have a very childlike way of thinking and asking questions. Because, you know, like...
Naturally.
Say again.
Naturally.
Right, naturally. So you see, because I've always been the child or the youngest, even around my brothers, and I'm a big man, but when I see my brothers, I become the child again because they just, you know, they just bring that out of me. I become stupid and whatever else. And I'm 50 too. So ultimately, and it's one of these things where it depends on what they can handle. A child will ask you, Daddy, why do you have to sit down? Because I'm tired. Why are you tired? I had to go to work. Why do you go to work? And then, you know, when they do that thing and you start stripping it back and you're like, you best stop now. And it's because you don't want to have to deal with those types of questions. You know what I mean? Daddy, why is the sky blue? And you're like, damn, do I lie or do I make up something? and then you make up something. Ultimately,
Why don't you just say I don't know?
because you don't want to appear as dumb in front of your children. You want to appear as, because now all of a sudden now, let me go and find out. So then now you're no longer the source. If your child asks you a question and you say I don't know, and then Colin's there, and then he goes, oh, it's because, and she's gonna look, oh, thank you. And then you're going to be like...
Yeah, but it takes a village. It takes a village to...
But also,
but it takes a village
to raise a child. But where's the village? We don't have villages no more. What we do have...
Yeah, but Colin is part of the village.
What we do have in abundance...
This is how we chop it up, man. On some shit you might not never know nothing about. We got Xavier Barnett, the life coach, breaking it down. Okay, so go
You're
on.
making me laugh. What we do have in abundance is ego and pride.
Yeah.
And the one thing that a man doesn't want in his house or from his child is depending on another man or another person or his woman depending on another whatever in order to do what he believes he should be doing. That's just ego and pride. We can put it down, but I'm just being honest, yeah? So ultimately, you need to teach them things that you wish that you would have known when you was younger, number one. And you need to prepare them
100%.
for a world that you're not going to live in, bro, by the way. But you need to give them tools to be prepared for the worlds that's to come.
Yeah, exactly.
That is to come. So, you know, what's about to happen with the whole metaverse and all this kind of stuff and cryptocurrency and whatnot. I mean, I'm like, I got involved. I got some current, some crypto and all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Did you?
I did.
Was this before you were awoken to the awakeness of the awakening?
I understand, because I understand what the whole money infrastructure is, but the reason why I did parts of it is to show my son and then get my son to actually be more adverse to it or be more informed. So you got to just teach them things that you, survival things, teach them skills, teach them information. Even when it comes to spirituality, teach them that, teach them mindfulness. That's real, that's the real stuff. So I teach my son mindfulness. I teach him about love, forgiveness, understanding, caring, empathy. I teach him about those types of things because that's the real. Algebra and all that kind of stuff, that's just to conform to the system. But the real essence, love, peace, joy, understanding, all those types of things.
I was saying the other day to my friend that I feel like, because he was like, yeah, but, you know, how do you say to your kids? It was similar to Santa sort of thing. And but it was to do with I guess it was like the mask thing in schools and different things like that. And I was saying to him, you know, you could drop it like, you know, like how people pretend like when they're playing computer games, they pretend that there's someone else in that game, you know, and they play that role or whatever. Well, in real life as well, people do that. You know, they want to pretend that things are not the way that they really are, sort of thing. And that could probably help them in a way understand, like, okay, everyone's different as well. And
So everyone is different. That's a fact, right? But everybody's trying to be the same. So if you think about it, it's probably nearly 8 billion people on the planet. And when you look at curriculum that they teach in school, they're teaching you exactly the same thing. Now, you're considered dumb or smart depending on whether you take the information on that we give you quickly or slowly. But if you're an academic and I'm a creative, then we're going to learn differently. And some people have different issues where they can't learn at the same speed. So now you're stupid, now you're smart, you get elevated, you get put back, you go in that class. And then it's like, well, this doesn't work. It's like the system's not supposed to work for everyone. It's supposed to work for the few. And then everybody else has to fall in line. So when you start understanding that there is what works for them and then what works for me or what works for you, then you start making a bespoke life for yourself as opposed to trying to work with something like swimming upstream, you know what I'm saying? Or kind of like just doing stuff that doesn't favor you and you're not passionate about, it's not a purpose for you, but you're doing it because it's something that you should do. That's torture.
Yeah, you're not lying there, bruv. Definitely it's definitely a bunch of torture going on for people. You said something there that I was gonna ask you about, in terms of, because what we're getting at is that obviously, so you said that in school it's for the majority in terms of, the minority that the school is for, but I feel like it seems like it's the majority that have ended up sort of being indoctrinated, like by the system, because there are way more people that kind of just like, they've got the guards up there, so they can't really see what's going on outside of that, and they're just looking straight, as opposed to the few that have sort of, stepped away from out of the darkness and seen the light a bit more.
So when I say the few get it, there are some people who absorb all the information very quickly and can repeat it back to you, so they are elevated to higher levels. There are those people that don't get it that well, so you're paused at that state. Okay, you're the stupid one now, so this is how we deal with you, because we just want to see whether you're smart enough or whether you're stupid enough, and you get held back or whatever else. And the people who excel get taken out of that system. You get poached and put into another category where you're upgraded. You see what I'm saying? It's like you're not like them. You're smarter, you're wiser, you're stronger, you're faster, and then you get elevated, and the rest just get caught up in the lag, if you will.
Yeah, makes sense, man. Okay. Yeah,
Okay.
I get it.
That's just the way how my mind thinks, anyhow.
Nah, for real, man. I get it, man, because it is, it's a complex thing, innit? Really.
Okay, they make it complex.
Yeah, they make
it is
complex.
simple.
Sorry,
Yeah, it is simple. It's always simple, and I think
is simple.
The way that I've worked with people and worked and managed to gain the amount of success that I have is through just and by the way, a lot of my clients are therapists and counselors as well. I have a lot of therapists and counselors as clients.
Who come to you?
Who come to me as clients? Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, literally, because remember, a lot of them don't actually give advice; they just listen. So people are turning up in their practice and throwing up on them.
Yeah, and they don't get to throw up on no one.
And they don't get to throw up. So I'm like, well, isn't that difficult? Because I can't sit down and listen to somebody just throwing up. That's too much for me. That's too much. So I don't do that. What I do actually is just kind of like turn up and I turn a mirror at you. And I go, that's you. What do you see? And you tell me what you see. And then I tell you the illusion that you see. And then we start dealing with the reality of what is there. And then we realize that what you've been taught nearly all your life, like Neo, when it's like, Neo, this is what you think it is, but this is the real world. And Neo's like, no, it can't be, because it's like, it's difficult when you have to be unplugged, red or blue pill. Me, I take red pill all the time, but then the rabbit hole is where the fun or the stress or trauma begins. And then when I start taking people down my version of the rabbit hole, they're like, so does everybody think like this? And I'm like, no, but you've been programmed to think the way you do by television, by media, generally, by family, by friends, by fear, by lack, by doubt, by this, and you've subscribed to it. Somebody was telling me the other day, I was speaking to a person about when the policeman stops you and he asks you for your name, he needs your name so that he can attribute whatever it is that he's going to give you, the bill or a fine, to a name. If you don't give him your name, who are they going to attribute it to?
Yeah, the name is like you consenting, basically.
Right.
So you're saying that you're the entity now, and then they're like, all right, have you got any ID? Can I see your ID? And then you give them the ID. It's not actually your ID, it's the ID of the property of the crown, isn't it? But so then you're already like kind of overstepping their boundary by claiming this is your ID, but then you're saying, oh yeah, that surname, there's a reason why it's not your last name, it's your surname, and you have your first names and then your surname.
Correct.
Why is it surname, not your last name?
Correct.
And
there's a reason why it's in block capitals, but we won't even go into that.
And so like they're doing that, and then now this is a way of saying, yeah, I consent to whatever you.
Correct.
And so it's a whole game of words that they play on us.
So because the issue is that most people don't know the law, and they've never read the Road Traffic Act of 1988. They've never read those things. So if you don't know it, you can't repeat it back to an officer and then be informed as to what their rules are, as to what their game is, because it's all a stage and we're all actors on the stage. It's just that you got to realize what script you're reading and what script you're playing. So if you get that, you understand that you can win based on knowledge as opposed to lose based on ignorance.
It's all a stage. It's different stages, different jurisdictions.
Correct.
Where are you? Where's your standing right now? Like, are you standing on the commerce jurisdiction? Or is it equitable? Is it equity? Is it common law?
Right. There you go.
It,
all of this.
Okay.
Right now, you're sat down as a podcaster. When you go home and your wife passes your child, you're sat down as a dad. When the child goes to sleep and wife comes to bed, babe, I need to talk to you, you're sat down as a husband. And we play all these roles, right? And we get it. So when I need to turn up as a husband, I don't think about it, I just turn up. But when we get into certain situation and then somebody inputs fear and doubt in your mind, then now you're at liberty of whatever this person says to you, because they've actually thrown confusion at you and you don't know what the role that you're supposed to play, because I haven't got any reference for this role, haven't studied this role. So what do? And people are there now, and then you're in trouble.
Big trouble. Big trouble. Little China.
Little China. I wasn't going to say it, but you
Big trouble in
Little China. We playing that game. Great film.
Yeah, man. We're here with Xavier, the life coach, sorry, on some shit you might not never know nothing about. For the kids, you can say something you might not never know nothing about, but you know what I mean? It don't matter right now.
Yeah. If they up,
chopping it
they
up,
get
man.
it.
Yeah, man. So, is there anything else you want to shout out, like, before we, do this thing that we do when we got to do it?
No, shout out to you guys, man, and for the space that you've created, for inviting me onto your space.
Hey,
just to kick my my basic knowledge and understanding of what life is for me, and just want people just to challenge themselves. Ultimately, challenging how you think and challenging everything. You should challenge everything because that facilitates you getting your mind right. And ignorance is no excuse. It's not an excuse.
We allow it so much, though, don't we? It's a scary
100%.
thing when you think about it. The amount of ignorance that, like you. I'm sure you've seen it. There are people, highly intelligent, probably classed as geniuses. That's this, that, and the third. But then right now you're like, yo, can you not see anything that's in front of you?
Bro. And again, I will say it's about environments. A lot of them are in the wrong environment, listening to the wrong information or listening to misinformation. So what I've said to people, they're like, Zav, you've got to do this because, and I goes, answer me this. Why is it that experts, right, top doctors are saying that X, Y, and Z is good? And then you've got expert top doctors saying X, Y, and Z is bad. How is that possible that you can get two experts saying the exact opposites about the same thing?
And they're in the same field.
And I'm like, well, if they're confused, I'll be damned if I'm going to be trying to figure that out, because even the experts can't decide for it. So what I then go, where I go is within. And I'm like, my immune system has been working as long as I've been alive. And for mankind, we've been made with an immune system that has been able to circumnavigate all types of things. I understand the whole thing that we need to be aided and helped and all that kind of stuff in certain areas. But ultimately, your body wants to be in a state of homeostasis where it can just actually produce the best things possible. One of the best places to be at peace is here. And most people are so twisted in their mind because they are chasing things that they don't actually want, that they don't actually need. But the system, the media, whatever, has fooled them into believing that's what they want. So if we can get back to basics, back to spirituality, back to me, then you can grow from there.
What kind of, all right, so, because I'm trying to think, like, someone of your mind, how would you respond to somebody who you feel it's almost like they're doing their best to ignore, looking at some form of information that might be, a bit different to what they're used to, but how do you kind of talk them into, or what kind of idea do you plant in their mind for them to open up a bit more and be like, okay, let me check this out then. That makes sense.
I just challenge what they think. So the one thing that we all have is free will, and I don't mess with that.
Nah.
I don't mess with free will. Not even God messes with free will, and I'm no greater than God. So I won't mess with free will, bro. And free will, you start messing with that, that's manipulation, that's cajoling or whatever it is. I don't mess with people's free will. And I know that I can help a ton of people, but when they say this is me, I'm at peace with that. And what happens is that, and this is the difficult part, when family and friends want to help their brother or their sister or their partner and whatever else, and they're like, they won't listen to me, and I goes, and why should they? It's called free will. God don't even mess with free will. Yeah, but I'm trying to help them. How can you help someone that doesn't want to be helped or can't see that they need helping? Yeah, but they're going to do this. And I'm like, and you have to make peace with that. Because otherwise you're overstepping free will. So I make peace with it. I challenge people with it. There's people that message me and go, I'm going to kill myself. And I go, why? And they go, what's the point of living? I go, what's the point of dying? And they go, I just want to kill myself. I goes, what are you killing? Huh? What are you killing? I don't understand. And that's why you're going to be even having this conversation. You're killing your future because your past is already gone. The thing that got you here with this mind state is gone. So that's past. You can make your present better and make your future better now. And it's like, I goes, but because you're replaying your past is in your present and you can't see any further than there. So you're pushing it into your future. So if I can press pause on your hard drive, because you're pressing play and replay, rewind, play. If I can press pause on it and then reprogram your hard drive, I can give you a better reaction right now. And I've done it. I've done it to people that I've not even that I've not spoken to, but they just listened to my Instagram and they've messaged me telling me that. It's doable, but you have to be prepared for it. I can't force you to do it. And my ego and my pride is well with that. But if you allow me to, and if you have a passion to learn more and to be open, I can help you.
Hit him up, mother lovers, at Xavier the Life Coach. XAVIER.
The Life Coach.
Life Coach. Bitches and bitchettes. That bit ain't on there, by the way, bitches and bitchettes. That was
and it
my
was
little
xtlc.co.uk, yeah, as well. Okay, we put it in the
dropping
chat
some gems,
bro.
boy.
I'm trying to set people free out here, man.
Yeah, man. Nah, I love it, bruv, man.
Free your mind.
I love that energy, man.
Blessings,
Serious. Man. It's needed. Like, it's good to see people like yourself out there as well, being, you know, as outspoken as you can be. Yeah. It's quite tricky nowadays because people think you're a bit crazy, but the interesting
and the
thing
algorithms
is,
you get pulled.
Yeah. That's the worst about it. Yeah, I'm facing that at the moment, man. Where it's like, right, the algorithms just be, bruv, you ain't getting nothing out there. Once or twice there, we let you go. All right, get a couple streams off of this. You know what I mean? Get a couple views. Then bam, that ain't happening. Yeah, but it's all good, man. Do you know what I mean? We're still out here surviving. Shout out to all the mother lovers that were locked in tonight. We appreciate you all the time, man. Hope you got some gems out of this, man. We sure did. Xavier, appreciate you, man.
Thank you for being
We got to do this again, man, if you're up for it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming into the studio as well.
Yeah, man.
Very rare.
Yeah, when you guys said do it over Zoom, I was like, what's that? Come on, bro. We old, man. We out here. We old. Let's sit down and chop it up, man.
Yeah, man. Barbershop chat, innit? For real, boy. Nah, man. It's appreciated, bro, man. Definitely. You know what I mean? Shout out to all the crew that were locked in. You're more. Big up. Shout out to Oshi. Bigger man. Yes, bigger man. We had Itch FM crew up with us, man. Shout out to Kenny Rebel. Who else? Turbo Tubalicious, big up, my brother. Shout out to IBMCs. Yeah. I said Kenny Rebel already, innit? Shout out to DJ Pro Tracks. See me like bait, just scrolling up. You know what I mean? I think I'm styling it out in some way, like I'm reading it off the back of my head. Yeah, you laughing at the back of my head, isn't it? It's the front of my head that I really had problems with, man. Growing up. Shout out to Chris Lahat. Shout out to Script, man. See through the script. Big up. Yo, Regantology. Who else? I feel like, oh yeah, Black Einstein.
Easy. Come in, man. What's wrong with you?
Yeah, man. Shout out to Oshi. He said, keep spreading that good stuff. Wicked. He got some gems from this one as well, man. Yo, Osh, we might have to chat to you, man. You know what I mean? Been out there on your voyage. Shout to Broken English. Yeah, man. Osh, we'll chat in a bit, man. Definitely.
Get in your wheelhouse.
And yeah, man, we appreciate all you mothers, lovers. I'm getting all tongue tied, boy.
I don't know why.
Appreciate all you mother. It's the CBDs, man. It just has me like, yeah, you know, like, whoa, for real, man. What if space is really just a cube? You know what I mean? Like, yo, square has 360 degrees as well, man. So that means if you turn it on its side, it's still round. That's how the CBD has you. Only late at night, though. Don't worry. During the day, you can function. You'll be good. Yeah. I'm good. But yeah, all you mother lovers, all you mother lovers that were locked in.
Sorry, before you get that line out, because I heard you was getting it right then. I thought I better interrupt.
You can start all over again.
Get over to we've got an Instagram now for the Simon Instagram, and then the Twitter. That'd be good if we got some people to come onto Twitter and start following that one as well.
Follow on Twitter, so SYMNNKNA. Make sure you follow my
Simon.
Yeah.
I thought it was just me.
It's something you might not know. All you gotta know is it's something you might not never know nothing about.
Okay, cool.
Say that with me now. Something you might not never know nothing about.
Something you might not never know nothing about.
Yeah, see it there.
And then we've got the that's CBD talking.
Yeah, nah, that's straight up CBD. Mumble rap was like, that was birthed from CBD. People think it's lean now, man. CBD. Nah, I'm joking.
The podcast as well. So we're putting up the shows every week.
Oh yeah.
So there's all the back shows on the Spotify, iTunes, Castbox, Anchor, wherever you get your podcasts from.
You can stream that shit.
Stream it.
You know what I mean?
Listen to it while you're at work.
Whilst you're on the tube.
Catch up with some of the bits you might have missed before.
The bits you might not have never known nothing about. You can hear us talk over each other all the time. Yo, yeah. So all you mother lovers, got it right. Woo.
I forgot to show you that earlier.
What was that? That's the clothing. Oh yeah, bruv.
But that's the red pill.
Oh, do you have a blue pill as well?
No.
I was gonna say, boy, try to capitalize on the thing anyway. That's deep, man. The red pill. So quickly, can you drop about the clothing? That's the thing. I was like, I'm sure there's something you want to shout out.
Well, I'm not really pushing the clothing as much at the second, just because of pandemic.
Corona.
Yeah, the delivery times have been horrific. But yeah, so there is a clothing line, and I will push that at a later stage again. Yeah.
Hey, still don't nothing move but the Rona.
Should do a like a blue pill hat and tie set for like city people who just aren't willing to take the pill.
Made out of wool.
Like, oh, you don't want the red pill stuff, you want the blue pill stuff.
But you know what? The only thing is every time you guys say blue pill, I know what blue pill I'm thinking that comes to. Like, you want an Agra? Okay.
You know what I'm saying? That's the only blue pills we're dealing with out here, man. Take the red and the blue. You know what I'm saying?
We prefer the blue eye drops that just make you look hard.
Hard and woke. Take the red and the blue. Hard and woke, man. You know what I'm saying? That's how we roll it out here. Yo, big up all the crew that were locked in, man. We appreciate you, mother lovers. This has been some shit you might not never know nothing about. My name's Mice Diggy.
Xavier, the life coach.
Dan DNA. And we're out, mother lovers.
Yeah.